Yes, sir.
Hello viewers, welcome to our program on Immigration and You. I am your immigration attorney Michael Fulwani, and once again we have with us my partner David Nachman. David, welcome.
Morning, Michael.
Now in our last program we started telling our viewers about our trip to India, about our meetings in the American Embassy in New Delhi, in Hyderabad American Consulate, in Chennai American Consulate, and also in Mumbai. So let's start like right now. Imagine we are right now in Delhi. We are having a meeting with USCIS, that is an overseas immigration office, and we met the officer who's in charge of that, and probably we have met her previously also. So she really welcomed us and had a nice conversation. And some of the information we got from her is about, first of all, a 601 waivers. So as my recollection is, she said that the old ones that were filed before this change took place, the change is that now you can have to file, not can file. All 601 have to be filed in the United States. That's the application for waiver. Somebody committed a fraud, a misrepresentation, crime or something and needs a waiver that was previously filed at the American Consulate, starting, and the consulate would send to the immigration office and they will do the processing. So they stopped taking any new ones. Old ones, they said almost they are finished, and some of them they have already sent to the office in Bangkok, which is the regional office, immigration office.
Right.
So that now she also talked about, if you recall, you can go ahead, I-130 petitions, because every time they call you clients, can I go to Delhi and file there? Can I file in India? Can I file in India? Go ahead.
Well, she was pretty clear that while some of the other consular officers would possibly, and not in her post, at other posts, might potentially take I-130s and exercise jurisdiction, she will not. She said that under no circumstances would they be accepting I-130s.
Now, let me correct it. Yeah. No post in India can take an I-130. But
right.
USCIS New Delhi is only taking I-130s from citizens who are residing in India, who live in India, work in India, they'll take from them. Right. In some limited cases, they will take a petition on humanitarian grounds, and I gave her an example. Like a person, when he was a green card holder, he filed for the wife and children, and then in just about a month before the interview was supposed to happen, he became a US citizen. Now that whole changed the whole picture, because then, and that petition that he filed for the wife together with children went out of that. So they had to file a new petition for the child or the children. Now the wife is going to get it. She's not going to leave 2 children, 3 children behind. It's a humanitarian thing. And she said that kind of case I will consider humanitarian. So in that limited sense that they do, but I mean, as a general rule, people ask you and ask me, I tell them forget India, they're not going to take it. That's you right. Live here, file here. That's here. It.
That's right. That's right. And the other thing that the officer had indicated to us is that actually most of her focus was on refugee work, that her office was now doing Correct. Refugee work, right. And that actually she was going on detail to Pakistan right after she had met with us, soon after she met with us, they were going on detail to Pakistan to deal with some of the refugee issues there. So that office really has, for the most part, and you know, it was her view that now that for the most part the waiver work is eviscerated from that office. Now the focus would be on continuing to do fraud investigations and also to focus on some of the refugee work in that office.
Yeah, one other thing that still they do is not USCIS. There is an officer there, CBP officer in the USCIS section of the embassy, basically American Embassy in New Delhi. They have given some space to Immigration Service. And in that space, they also have a CBP officer.
Right.
And the function of the CBP officer is multiple, and we cannot discuss any details which may relate to the national security. But one of the things they are still doing for the public, if somebody has lost his green card while he's in India, then he can go to the New Delhi office and they'll get a transportation letter as long as they have not remained in India for more than 1 year. Same thing, some people have a green card, and while they are traveling there, the date on the green card, the 10 years, has expired, and the airline will not take them. So those people can go to the immigration office in New Delhi and ask the CBP officer to issue a transportation letter, but they are required.
Yeah, they didn't call it a transportation letter, Michael.
Yeah.
I think they called it a FOIL or something, right? It was a FOIL. Yeah.
They call it transportation letter also, yeah. But then, see, the very important thing is person must be in a valid status. Green card might have expired, but their status is not lost because they just came for 3 or 4 months only.
Right.
So they are returning back to resume their permanent resident status. If somebody stayed more than a year and did not file a re-entry permit, then he lost his green card, then he can go for his SB1.
That's an
consulate.
SB1 process.
But they cannot issue the
Sorry.
transportation letter to somebody who
Right.
has remained outside without a re-entry permit and lost their status.
Right.
So that's because I get some clients who try to go to the American consulates. American consulates are also authorized to issue, but they give a lot of hard time. They do this document, that document, because or sometimes they refer to immigration office. So if somebody really has lost a green card or green card has expired and is in a rush, better go to the immigration office in New Delhi and they will assist them.
Right.
So these are the things. This is an example. How many people call me recently, as long as about 3 days ago, I got an email from somebody about the same thing. What did I do? My wife lost it's expired the green card. So this information will be very helpful to many of our viewers.
Absolutely. And then, Michael, one of the discussions also had to do with individuals who wanted to give up their green cards. We have.
Yeah, but that is
and
the
came up-
consulate thing. Yeah.
Right, and that where individuals were trying. Well, many of our clients come to us and they say we have the green card. We're interested in giving up the green card, basically revoking it, or I guess it's a form of rescission. So how do I go about doing that? But also, after I do that, can I apply for a visitor's visa?
Correct.
And so we were actually asking the U.S. consular officers for some guidance on what is the proper procedure in order to go about doing that.
The
Now-
process is that person must first apply for a visitor visa. In other words, you go online and get the 2 appointments and whatever is required. We can talk about that in more details, the present system of applying for visas. But he has to apply for a visitor visa, and there's a column in there, have you ever applied before? He should say, yes, I have a green card, I'll be surrendering at the time of interview. And then he goes for the interview. Before he consul start asking question, he should put the green card on the table and say, this is my green card, thank you very much, I enjoyed a beautiful country, but my circumstances are different now.
changed.
I have decided to permanently settle in India.
Right.
I don't want, and the green card, the consul can take out the green card. There's a form, I think, I-407 probably.
407,
He completes the form and
That's right.
green card is accepted. And I would say that more than 80% of the cases, they will issue a 10-year multiple visa, visitor visa. And more people are doing it. Elderly parent who really don't want to have a hassle every time coming to the CBP airport, people, because of the recent tax issues and
Well,
problems.
that's what it is. It's tax issues.
Tax
You know,
issues.
right. Exactly.
People are surrendering their green cards, and which
right.
is okay. Now,
Right.
in some I don't want to name the post. Let's say some of the posts said, why we deny 10-15%, Mr. Fulwani and Mr. Nachman, you are raising that issue. I'll tell you why. If still it appears that the person's intention is because he lost, because he may not be interested, now he's interested to settle back and doesn't want the 1-year process if the son or the daughter files a new petition. So they just want to get a visitor visa, go there and change. And if we feel that is the kind of situation, then obviously his intention is to settle, and then 214B, they can still deny.
That's right.
And the other thing they said, a person lost his status 5 years ago. 5 years ago, this piece of paper, this old green card is useless. What is he trading with what?
Right.
Exchanging what? But if the green card is still current, means he has not been out for more than a year, he can still use that to go back, but still surrendering is much better case, because the consul knows that if he really wants to settle, that he has a green card, he can go. Why would he surrender?
So for the ease of understanding for our viewers, basically what you're saying, Michael, is that if an individual who is seeking to get rid of their green card, to give it back, if they are still within, let's say, the validity of the green card, it should not be a problem at all.
Correct.
They can just go in and they can ask for the B1, B2. They shouldn't have a problem getting a stamp
Any
unless
multiple visa.
there's some other issue that gives rise to the possibility that the consulate may deny it, but that doesn't happen a lot.
Correct.
However, if you have an individual who is outside, let's say 2, 3 years, 4 years outside of the green card having expired, that could be problematic.
Yeah, but that still is I mean, we are not saying you don't apply or you cannot apply, they'll be denied. There needs a little more information or
A little more analysis.
convincing,
And some
articulating,
more
as you
analysis,
say,
right.
articulating
Exactly.
the position why 4 years I didn't bother. It was so many people, really, in reality, not that. People lost the green card, they says useless, we throw the green card lying in the drawer. So they didn't have the trouble of why go to the council, I'm not going. So they
Right.
didn't have the trouble. Now 4 or 5 years down the road, they have son, children, grandchildren, whatever, they decide to go. So they say, we don't want to use this green card anyway. You go and surrender the green card, but explain to convince the council that they are fully settled in India and they have no intention at all, absolutely, to remain in the US or to get a green card again. So, because one of the posts were very, without naming any post, one of the posts said that we have even just given 100% now. Now our policy is that somebody applies for, we don't care, he surrender green card, old or new, we just issue him a, visitor visa. Basically, because the idea, my question was, the son is a US citizen. So if the person wants to really immigrate, he can file a new petition and go.
Very simply.
So
right.
he said, that's correct, that's correct. So that was a very good piece of information. Many of our viewers really will find very useful and helpful.
So some of the other items that we tackled with the U.S. consular officers had to do with the number of people that they deal with on a day-to-day basis, what the staffing is like, who the staff are in the consulate who would be able to help us to troubleshoot some of the issues if they came up, and so on. Basically, we were interested to know what sort of volume each of the consulates was dealing with. The volume varies depending upon the consular office in India.
Yes.
So that depended. Also, the officers had, pearls of wisdom that they shared with us about the way they do an analysis of a particular case. And that information was very, very insightful and helpful, and great information for us to be able to share with you, our viewers.
It was very, very nice because it's very, very important that when we understand which post where, what consular officers are looking which way, and that helps us a lot in helping our clients. Basically, a person can apply anywhere in India. Now they say that it's okay. If you live in Bombay, you can apply in Delhi. You apply in Delhi, you can anywhere. That's not a problem. Right. Although they would ask a question, why are you applying here? Why not there? So the person is living there temporarily.
But if you can articulate a reason as to why you're doing that, that didn't seem to be a problem.
The person is going to here on assignment 2-3 months, and he doesn't have to go to Bombay or whatever. Basically, a proper good explanation, they will process it, and not necessarily. In the old times, they will say, visa shopping. You are doing visa shopping. Still, sometimes they use the word, like that you have a problem in Mumbai, that's why you are applying in Delhi. Or some people have a feeling that China is doing better job and they apply.
Well, there seemed to be a general recognition that in some consulates which are highly trafficked, that it would take a long time to get a visa, and that there was a recognition that certain clients couldn't wait that long. So they said, well, if you can't wait that long and you need to come in, well, then we will welcome that group, or we will welcome that person, because we're able to do that. That's discretionary.
As you remember, we talked to them about our Bollywood groups, shooting groups, O1, O2, P3 visas, and we told them instances where they could not get an appointment in one post after 2 weeks, and they had to come.
That's what I was referring to.
They take the flight, especially 80 people, 90 people to the other post, spend $200,000. We explain them. They say, that shouldn't happen, and we'll be more than welcome. But now, of course, it's changing also. The delays are no longer there in most cases.
Exactly.
I would say presently in India, any post, visitor visa application is probably within a week. That's what is happening.
And that has to do with the fact that the consulates are working, again, in a genuine manner to try to improve their processes and to improve their service, their customer service for the people who are coming to the consulate. I think that one of the things that really struck me, Michael, and I'm sure struck you also, is that the consular office is really, they're all working together. They're training together and they're communicating a lot. General communications are going through New Delhi.
Periodical regional conference that all the consulates.
Exactly, and they all seem to
share their thoughts.
Exactly, and they all seem to be on the same page and talking about the same things in the same way, with very little leeway, or deviation from the general way in which they handle things.
Okay, David, once again, we are coming to the end of the program, and thank you very much for being on the program. Very,
Thanks so
very
much,
important
Michael.
subject we'll talk in our next program is communicating with the American consular officer about the pending cases or any issues. So make sure to watch our program next week, Saturday, Sunday, and we'll give you the latest information about visa processing in India. Thank you, all of you, for watching our program, and goodbye.